It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was a tale of two halves for the Bengals in Tampa Bay, and eventually they come out on top after a dominant second half. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Bengals, your daily Cincinnati Bengals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, Bengals fans, and welcome to another episode of the Locked On Bengals podcast. I'm your host, Jake Liscow. He's your host, James Rapien. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network here on Locked On Bengals, bringing you coverage of your Cincinnati Bengals every day, free and available everywhere you get your podcasts and on YouTube. So if you're new to the show as the Bengals make their playoff push, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button, and we will have you covered every step of the way on that journey. Today's episode of Locked On Bengals is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. They'll help you find candidates faster, especially those you want to talk to. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. And James, like I said at the top of the show, really a tale of two halves in this game. The first half, a bit of a disaster for the Bengals, and the second half, a bit more than a bit of a disaster for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who go 5 straight drives with turnovers either on downs or by fumble or interception. And the Bengals started, 5 straight drives in the second half in Tampa Bay territory. Almost the entire second half was played on Tampa's side of the field, which is not where you want to be.
No, it's it was wild. I asked all the players that I talked to about that, from Burrow to Boyd. Have you ever had that many short fields? And they laughed and said no in one way or the other. And it's wild. Self-destruction by the Buccaneers. Now, you give the Bengals credit for forcing those turnovers, right? Germaine Pratt's interception was just insane. Right? The fact that he was able to keep that from hitting the ground. Trey Flowers stepping up. You got guys forcing fumbles. Osai with the recovery there on one, Reader with another. It was a complete team win. And during the 6-game win streak, and really this season, but certainly during the 6-game win streak, they've won a bunch of different ways. And this was a new way. They tied a season high, 4 turnovers forced. Burrow didn't put up huge numbers, but they were effective in the red zone. And after what was a weird, ugly start where it's like, that's the Brady we remember. The Bengals, they recovered, and they did it shorthanded.
Yeah.
No Hubbard. Cam Taylor-Britt went out. No Hendrickson, obviously. No Mike Hilton. And we're still able to step up on defense after not being able to stop the Bucs at all in the first half. I mean, whatever Lou Anarumo does at halftime, it continues to be a topic, how well they can adjust to the game, to what opposing offenses are doing. And obviously they had a ton of success in the second half.
Yeah, in the first half, you're right. It looked like vintage Brady. I think I even tweeted it. It's like, this is what Tom Brady's offenses have always looked like. Efficient. The running backs are always, involved and playing well. Leonard Fournette was having a really nice game, and the Bengals are having a hard time tackling him. And then in the second half, the Bucs go turnover on downs, 4 plays, -1 yard. I think that is on the fake punt.
Yep.
So fake punt, they go for it from deep in their own territory. The Bengals have a 20-yard field, 16-yard field. They get 1 first down, then they stalled out. Next play, interception. And this is the Trey Flowers pick on a pass intended for Cameron Brate. Really nice play for Trey Flowers, continuing to be used in that role. Man coverage on tight ends. Comes away with the pick. The Bengals go 31 yards on 7 plays for a touchdown.
Yep.
Next drive, Tom Brady strip sack. I believe it was DJ Reader forcing the fumble, although it might have been credited in the box score to Logan Wilson. I think it was corrected.
It was
DJ Reader. It was Reader who forced the fumble. A little twist that involved Logan Wilson on a blitz. Gets home to Brady before he can get rid of the ball. The Bengals go 5 plays, 13 yards, touchdown. Next drive, 3 plays, botched handoff. DJ Reader falls on a fumble. Bengals take over at the 39. This is 4 straight drives starting in Tampa Bay territory. 8 plays, 39 yards, touchdown. The next play is another Tom Brady interception. This is the Germaine Pratt play. The Bengals don't capitalize on that one, but I mean, that's incredible. that
They already had the
stretch
lead
of possessions. Yeah, at this point, they're winning 27-17.
Yeah. And to rally back, I mean, it was 17-0. You get 3 at the end of the first half, and then just turnover. Go ahead.
Even that drive at the end of the first half left something on the field to me for the Bengals. Like, they got points, which was important, and it got them going a little bit, and it helped, if you believe in momentum, build momentum in the second half. But Tyler Boyd not going out of bounds, the check down to Samaje Perine, the decision to throw that ball, and then Perine not going out of bounds. Both of those could have saved time and given them shots at the end zone, and instead they kick a field goal. But it's still important to get points. But man, even that could have been better in the first half.
It could have. And it was weird because everything was working. And then you had the tip. By the way, it wasn't a tip right at the line.
Yeah,
it's a safety did it. This is different than the other ones. And Twitter melted down. Oh my gosh, Burrow in these passes. I mean, all right, it's a safety coming up and making a play. But that just derailed everything. Mm-hmm. And this offense, they did find a little something at the end of the first half. But you give them short fields like that, and good luck to any defense trying to stop an offense. And in the Bengals, they had to settle for 3 initially. I think a lot of people were surprised that they did and settled for 3 there and didn't go for it to make it 17-6. But the turnovers just kept on coming. And so where I was sitting in the press box, I was in that end zone. Mm-hmm. And both teams were on that side of the field the entire third quarter. Yeah. I mean, it was just a wild third quarter that really set the tone, set the pace. And it was 20-17 at the end of 3, but the Bengals were driving after that. Another turnover. It was after the second fumble recovery. And that's when, they were seizing momentum and going to put the game away. I think one thing, there are a reason bad teams are bad. And I know the Bucs technically lead a division, but Todd Bowles' decision to run a fake punt there, it's questionable. Because it let the Bengals right back in the game, and your defense was playing pretty well against the Bengals.
It also worked, except Giovanni Bernard didn't catch the snap. The play was there. It was going to be converted if Giovanni Bernard, whether he was aware of the play call or not, it looked like maybe
they said he was. Yeah, they said he was. I don't think he knew.
He looked very uncomfortable answering questions in the locker room. I don't know if you saw this video. Didn't look like he wanted to answer questions. Somebody told him they wouldn't hold him. He looked to and then there was like a Buccaneers media staff nearby who was like, just ask your question. And then Gio just looks at the guy over his shoulder and gives him this incredulous look. Like he was heated that this guy's like, yeah, go ahead and ask the question. And then he took some questions. Anyway, he said it was his fault. And he just kept cutting off questions saying it was on me. It was my fault. It was my fault. It was nobody else's fault. It was my fault. Anyway, didn't work. Because he didn't catch it, but it was there. And I was even thinking before the play, honestly, James, and I didn't tweet it in time. Might want to watch for the fake punt here. They've been going for it, and they haven't been going for it all year until this game. And then Todd Bowles started going for it in this game a lot more.
Yeah, I thought that they might. I mean, because the way they were moving the ball, they hadn't punted. And their only stop for the Bengals in the first half was a missed field goal. It's the only time that the Bucs didn't get points. And that was such a big drive to go one way or the other. And look, I get it. I don't think Gio knew it was coming. And Giovanni Bernard is still helping out the Bengals all these years later.
Doing things in Florida that help the Bengals. Just, go back to the Miami Thursday night. That was in Miami, right?
Yeah.
That was a road game. The first half, though, so strange. Right? They're moving the ball in the first drive. Even the tipped pass that was intercepted, like that play is there. It's a run pass option. They go and Burrow pulls it and throws to Chase. If the second level defender doesn't get his hand on the ball, that's another first down. It looks really easy for them on that first drive. Mm-hmm. And then you have Joe Burrow taking a sack. And then you have Joe Burrow taking a first down sack. And just like some weird brain dead moments for this offense throughout this game. And obviously they did enough in the second half to score 31 points. So, how bad could it have been in the second half? But the first half was a really weird time for this team. And I think we've said it before. There comes a point where you squander too many opportunities and then you don't have enough time left in the game. This time, though, with all the turnovers, they did have enough time and they made it happen. So we'll continue chatting about some of the big moments in this game, some of the big players that stepped up in just a minute. First, this episode is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Unfortunately, life doesn't come with a user manual. We all know that at this point. When it's not working for you, it's normal to feel stuck and like it's hard to find the solution. But therapists are trained to help you figure out the cause of those challenging emotions and learn productive coping skills. And what makes therapy the closest thing to a guided tour of a complex engine called you is their experience in giving you those tools. BetterHelp has connected over 3 million people with licensed therapists because it's convenient, it's secure, and it's accessible anywhere, 100% online. Everyone deserves to feel their best, and BetterHelp makes it easier to get started. You're going to fill out a questionnaire that connects you with the therapist that is right for you. And if you're not feeling the fit, it's super easy to change to somebody new as well. Get unstuck with BetterHelp. You'll learn more and save 10% on your first month right now at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon.
Today's show also brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. Make sure you check out LinkedIn Jobs because, look, every potential hire these days, it can feel like a high-stakes wager. You don't want to invest time, money, resources in the wrong candidates, in the wrong employees. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates. That's why you need LinkedIn Jobs. They have simple tools like screening questions that make it easy to focus on the candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview, who you'd like to hire. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
And there were a number of stars in this game, and we'll get to a game ball a little bit later, but there's a couple things about this game that are really thematic for the Bengals season. Guys stepping up. Trey Flowers, Germaine Pratt. Germaine Pratt, by the way, having an insane contract year. On an absolute tear right now. Joe Burrow spreading the ball around. All three of his receivers and Mitchell Wilcox scoring touchdowns in this game. And resiliency. The other one is their ability to ice games. And two of them that are the most impressive to me and have been constant for this team throughout the year are resilience and the ability to ice games.
Yep.
The entire Twitterverse, the Bengals Twitterverse at halftime is melting down. And a lot of people saying, man, this reminds me of the Browns game. First drive, tipped interception. The offense looks stuck. The defense is giving up points. This game's going to end. Tampa's going to go score 35 points. They're going to score their most points of the season. The Bengals are going to score 17 if they're lucky. To me, it wasn't great, and I did think they were running out of time a little bit there, the way things were going. But the Bengals have a really good offense. And the Buccaneers scored the second most points of the season in this game with 23. And that took a garbage time touchdown in the fourth quarter when the game was over. So I think that this is another sign that the Bengals are a pretty good team. I think the Buccaneers are certainly flawed, but they're only 2 years removed from a Super Bowl, a year removed from the NFC Championship game, still have Tom Brady in the building, still have a lot of those players there. But I think this is another feather in the Bengals' cap on this recent 6-game win streak that shows that they are legitimately a good football team as they get to 10 wins 2 weeks earlier, I think, than last year.
Yeah,
They're 8-6 at this point last year.
Correct. Yeah. For real quick, just so the Twitter trolls don't come after you, the Bucs, they were not in the NFC title game last year. They got eliminated in the divisional round.
Oh yeah.
But to your point, I didn't think it was going to be 35-3. I didn't. To me, I thought they were going to make a play. I was concerned about the defense getting stops. And not only did they get stops, they didn't force a punt until midway through the fourth quarter because they were all turnovers. And it's such a unique game that way, where if they play this game 10 times, the Bengals probably win, 8 of them, 9 of them? But this is the one wacky one where they were getting outplayed and the Bucs gave it up because they're kicking themselves for all of those turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
And in this Bengals team, they're resilient and they don't flinch. And that's such a unique thing for team. Like, you're down 17-0 and it doesn't feel like there's panic or shell shock or any of that. In fact, I think a lot of the crowd was shocked, Bucs fans wise, shocked at the start that Tampa Bay got off to. And you allowed them to get into it. You allowed the crowd to get into it some, and you were still able to flip momentum, which is really tough to do on the road. I mean, that's what happened in Cleveland is it kind of gets away from you. Well, the Bengals didn't let that happen today, despite being shorthanded and dealing with more injuries and all of those things. And I don't know where it starts. I guess you'd say Zach Taylor, right? Talked to Tyler Boyd afterwards, and he said, man, Joe Burrow is just the same always.
Mm-hmm.
He says, but he thinks Burrow gets more dialed in when they're down and is just so locked in that calmness that he brings it calms everybody. It certainly keeps Boyd confident and relaxed. And obviously they were able to get things going. I mean, this is the first game ever where Chase, Boyd, Higgins all scored a touchdown. And they didn't have huge gaudy numbers, but first game ever for that. One more quick thing. Jamar Chase was not happy with the officials after the game.
No.
And he said, man, I was getting held all the time. And, he had 7 catches for 60 yards on 13 targets. But I get it. And I asked him what he said to the official on the one near the end zone. He wouldn't tell me, but I'm sure it wasn't necessarily nice.
That's one where his face mask got grabbed, correct?
Yeah, and they didn't call it. And then Burrow gets sacked the next play.
For the third. Yeah, that was insane. That stretch of plays was nuts. Like, you have Burrow dropping it in the bucket for Jamar Chase. Should have been a touchdown catch. He gets face mask, almost catches it anyway. You can see the helmet turn on his head as he's trying to catch the ball.
Yep.
And maybe it's not pass interference, but it's a face mask. Because maybe it's after, the ball gets there, it's bang, bang. Maybe it's not early, but it's still illegal. You can't just grab somebody's face mask and turn their helmet when they're trying to catch a football. Actually, you can't do it at any time. So he rightfully upset. And then the very next play this is just an example of guys doing uncharacteristically weird, silly things in this game. Joe Burrow trying to make a play on third down ends up running like 23 yards backwards to the 50, taking the team well out of field goal range. This could be because he saw a flag.
Maybe.
He might have seen, and he might have seen Jamar Chase get held. He might have seen the flag come out. If he didn't, what are we doing, Joe?
Just throw it. Yeah, just throw that thing away. Throw it at Brady.
Anyway, they get the call, right? Well, I mean, you run back to the 50. How are you getting it back to the line of scrimmage? You have to eat the sack at that point. It's going to be, you can't risk like not getting it out of bounds and throwing a pick or something. They get the penalty. They're okay. But man, what a crazy sequence that is. All the Bucs turnovers, crazy sequences, just a lot of wild moments in this game.
Yep. Wild. And look, the good news is when things are going well, you can overcome the wild, right? If that makes sense. And the Bengals rolling right now, and it's just that they're confident and that they were able to overcome the ugly parts of this game. The Bucs are the opposite, right? It's struggle bus city. So when you go through those moments of adversity, usually it snowballs and it's really hard to stop. And the Bengals were able to take advantage of that and continue to put the pressure on and make big plays and get after Brady a little bit despite being shorthanded, and also gifted with the Leonard Fournette exchange. Like, that's a gift. You didn't do anything there, but recover it. But heck, you take it and you take advantage of it, and they did to go up 10 there. So it's a very unique game. I'll say that. Unique game to say the least. But the Bengals, first place in the AFC North for the first time this season. Yeah, stand alone. There's no Baltimore. We're behind them now. And something that I'll give you credit for, Jake, a few weeks ago, you were talking about the 1 seed. And I said, oh, yeah, Bengals players have mentioned it a little bit. Oh, no, that's clearly in their sights now, is trying to make this push for a 1 seed. And they're thinking about winning these next 3 games. And if they do that, they're going to have a really good shot, no doubt.
The Texans almost gave the Bengals a chance to control their own destiny. As far as the 1 seed is concerned, didn't quite happen. We'll continue our post-game discussion and get to some game balls to give out. And I have some props to give to some players on the Buccaneers team as well. We don't usually do that. It's really mostly one player, but we'll get there to finish up the show in addition to those game balls. First, this episode of Locked On Bengals brought to you by PrizePicks. And PrizePicks, as we've told you, is daily fantasy done right. You just pick 2 to 5 players and whether they will score more or less in their PrizePicks projection. That's all you do. It'll take you 60 seconds or less to get an entry in, and you can win up to 10 times your money if you hit all of those guesses. PrizePicks offers projections for any sport you watch, whether it's the NFL, NBA, college football, as we get into the college football playoff, men's college basketball, or even cricket. For all those cricket fans watching Locked On Bengals, safe and fast withdrawals available with PrizePicks, currently operational in over 30 states and in Canada. You can download the PrizePicks app right now or go to prizepicks.com to sign up for daily fantasy sports. And first-time users will get a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If it's $50, they'll give you $50. Don't forget, that's promo code Locked On when you sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100 with PrizePicks.
Now I have to tell you about Schultz & Sons because it's the official jeweler of the Locked On Bengals podcast. And it isn't just diamonds. You've heard us talk about Schultz & Sons a lot here on Locked On Bengals. It's not just diamonds with them. They have awesome colored gemstones, a wide selection. Maybe you're looking for a birthstone or something to accentuate, a special outfit you want it to match. You got that Burrow swag. Well, all you got to do is get the Schultz & Sons. They have everything you need. And you're looking for a last-minute gift idea? It is Christmas week. Just go there. Go there. It's on Dixie Highway, 2202 Dixie Highway in Fort Mitchell, right across the bridge, about 10 minutes from the Paycor Stadium. I almost said Paul Brown Stadium, Jake, but I did not. You got to get them, and you got to get after it this week. Don't delay any longer. The good news is they have plenty in stock for you right now at Schultz & Sons. Easy on, easy off, and easy to find that special gift with Schultz & Sons, whether it is a diamond or a gemstone, or maybe you're looking for a custom piece. They have you covered. So go there now, Schultz & Sons. And remember, when it has to be perfect, it has to be Schultz & Sons.
The Bengals' second half of this game, on paper, had to be perfect. Turns out the Bucs made it a little bit easier. Didn't have to be entirely perfect, but they were pretty close to it. 31 second half points for the Cincinnati Bengals, giving up just a garbage time touchdown. And on their way, you have DJ Reader coming up with a fumble recovery, DJ Reader with a forced fumble, Germaine Pratt with a really impressive interception off a tipped pass, and finally the Bengals defense completes the takeaway on one of those tipped passes at the line of scrimmage. It happened against another team. It also happened against Joe Burrow, even though it was a little bit different this week. But Germaine Pratt coming up with that pick. Joe Burrow ends up throwing 4 touchdown passes, takes 2 sacks early, doesn't get sacked the rest of the way, takes some hits, stands in there. Some good contenders here for our game ball, because really it was a very team effort kind of game.
It was.
Which way do you go, James? Jamar Chase, seven catches on 15 targets. Sorry, 13 targets for 60 yards. Is he the winner?
No, he's not. And not that he doesn't deserve it or any of those guys. It's got to be the defense. And I'm going to go Zach Taylor on you. The whole defense is getting a Schultz & Sons game ball today. And I don't know exactly who Zach gave game balls to. He might have given it to the whole defense, by the way. So if I just stole it as Zach's idea, then there you go. I haven't watched their video yet. I know they posted it. But if I had to say one specific person, give me Logan Wilson. This dude is a tackle machine. I mean, what's up with him? 9 solo, 15 combined tackles, had the sack that we talked about, 2 quarterback hits, was all over. Now, was he perfect? No, but anytime you're getting that many tackles, and then you might as well just give it to both linebackers, because Germaine Pratt, you're right, is playing insane. And so that's what's tough. I'd give it to the whole defense, but if it's just going to be a couple of guys, let's give it to those 2 linebackers. Double nickel, 55 Logan Wilson, and 57 G Pratt, playoff P, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah, I think Germaine Pratt, man, he's having an incredible contract here. Really good game for him, I think. generally. I also do want to, as always, make sure DJ Reader gets his love. We've talked about the fumble recovery, the forced fumble. He also had some plays in the run game. And they did it, like you mentioned, James, shorthanded. Sam Hubbard had a calf injury during the week, aggravated that calf injury in this game. Hopefully it isn't too serious for him, but reports are that he was in a boot after the game. Cam Taylor-Britt left the game as well, so Alan George came up off the practice squad, was in the game. Cam Taylor-Britt apparently told reporters, told Kelsey Conway, right, that he was going to play next week, as did Mike Hilton. So we'll see about those guys. That's what they're saying in the locker room. It's
easy to say that after a game too versus let's see how you feel tomorrow and the next day. And
definitely. Joseph Osai at one point creating havoc and gets a hit on Tom Brady that leads to Germaine Pratt's interception. So a lot of guys, I think, stood up in the second half on that defense for the Bengals. And so giving it to the entire defense, yeah, that sounds about right. Giving the Bengals all those drives starting deep in Buccaneers. I mean, they had 2 drives starting the red zone, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how often does that happen?
Well, they started in on the 16 and let's see here. In the 13. Yeah, 16 and 13. They got 10 points out of it. And I will say that all of those turnovers, so the turnover on downs, field goal, the interception, touchdown, fumble, touchdown, fumble again, touchdown. They did punt on that second interception, but they already had a double-digit lead at that point. I mean, you do have to cash in, and the Bengals certainly cashed in. They did have to convert on fourth down, the 1 4th down conversion, so they were able to do that as well.
And Burrow had an up-and-down game.
He did.
It was more like down and up. I mean, he started the game pretty well. The tip pass interception led to some sacks that I don't think he necessarily needed to have taken, but La'el Collins on one of them just got run around. Maybe Joe has to get rid of that ball. I would have to watch it again. Didn't look great for Collins on that play. Then there was a stunt where probably Burrow needs to get rid of the ball. But finishes the game kind of making the most of what's out there, what's available to him. And this is a shout out for the Tampa Bay team that I wanted to get to. Their secondary, I know that there were some complaints about holds and probably correctly so, but Carlton Davis in particular, I mean, that's one of the best games I've seen from a corner against Jamar Chase. The way that Carlton Davis was sticking on Jamar Chase, I mean, breaking up a back shoulder from Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
I mean,
rare. Does that happen?
That's very, very hard to do. Not very many people in the league better at it, if anybody, than Jamar Chase catching that particular throw from Joe Burrow. And Carlton Davis was right there, gets a pass breakup. So some flowers for Carlton Davis in a losing effort for the other side, but was really good in this game. But in the second half, Burrow also had some pretty incredible throws. The touchdown pass to Tyler Boyd, far hash on the sideline. I mean, that's an incredibly difficult throw. Yep. Perfectly accurate, perfectly timed. Good touchdown catch for Tyler Boyd on the other end of it. The pass to Jamar Chase that gets called back. That the penalty didn't get thrown on, where Jamar gets his face mask turned. I mean, he drops that in the bucket. That should have been a touchdown pass as well. So he had his moments. He found his way, I think, a little bit in the second half. Had the finger injury. Hopefully that's okay. Showed up on the injury report this week with an elbow injury, so hopefully he's generally okay. It doesn't seem to slow him down too much. I would say his issues in this game, when he did have them, are more mental than physical, but found his way and 4 touchdown passes. I mean, that's certainly doing enough. You score 31 points and a half. You're finishing the opportunities that the defense gave to you for the most part and getting there, but we haven't seen a slow start like this for a while.
No, and in the fact that they were able to figure it out, huge. And you mentioned it earlier in the show, but let's hit on it a little bit more. The fact that they go on a 7-minute drive, right? Start at their own at their own 38-yard line, I believe it was, and are able to go 13 plays, 62 yards, touchdown. Yeah. You just put the game on. I mean, because there's 9 minutes left, the Bucs are thinking, all right, let's get a quick stop. You down 2 scores. You got Tom Brady.
It was a pretty bad decision to punt on 4th and 1, but
sure. But I'm just saying that,
yeah.
By the way, Todd Bowles did that 2 weeks ago and it worked, which is insane because it was dumb then too.
Yep.
But that's what they're thinking. And Burrow and the Bengals said, we're actually going to keep this for 13 plays. And on the final one, we're going to give you the knockout blow. And that's really hard to do. Even if you are a really good, it's hard to do. Look across the league. And they were able to do that. So huge props to this offense for that, especially. They punched it in the red zone when they needed to with all the turnovers, but that drive at the end really, really helped because there was no Cam Taylor-Britt, right? You don't have pressure on Brady. There would have been a chance. It could have been a chance of the Bucs finding a way to get back into it if they didn't do what they did.
And they did find a way to get pressure in the second half. So I'm excited to go back and see what they did change. I think they were dropping guys a little bit more into coverage at times. There might have been some more twists thrown in there, some more kind of creepers where they're dropping guys out and sending other guys in their place. Going to be interesting to see what they did in the second half. The Tampa game plan on defense was also very interesting for the Bengals. There was a lot of zero cover, zero blitz look stuff from the Bucs in this game that seemed to be working fairly well early on until the Bengals kind of sorted out some of that stuff. But to finish up the finishing out games conversation here and to finish up the show, Chris Papa 85 sent me a snippet of Mike Sando article from earlier this week after they ran out the final 3 minutes and 43 seconds against the Browns. That was the 4th time this season Cincinnati took over while leading with at least 3 minutes left in the 4th quarter and didn't give the ball back. Since 2000, only the 2015 Colts and 2015 Seahawks and 2005 Colts have done that more times in a season, which was 5. The Bengals didn't quite do that today because they scored a touchdown instead of just running the clock out there. They probably could have or might have been able to do that in this game with like 7 minutes left, 8 minutes left in the game. Instead, they get the touchdown to ice it, but pretty impressive. And I think underrated storyline. We haven't talked about it until this moment, the consistency with which this team has been able to close out games with a lead. Mm-hmm. And this is a trend at this point for this team. And they have the ability to do that. And that will be handy down the stretch, potentially, if they're protecting some leads and not playing from 17-point deficits in all of their games going forward. We'll be back with more analysis of this game. We'll get into the film as well this week before we turn our attention to the Bengals trip to Foxborough here on the Locked On Bengals podcast. Until next time, the 10-4 Cincinnati Bengals in first place in the AFC North, controlling their own destiny in the division at this point. Thanks for listening to the Locked On Bengals podcast. Hoo day, and have a good one.